Today we're going to do something I think is really important. I watch beginners learn on a high wing trainer. And then they immediately, after they start getting comfortable, they start going to other scale models. And I think they avoid 3D and hyper aerobatic aircraft for really what they think is a really good reason. It's because they think it's for crazy aerobatics and 3D and things of that nature. And it's for like super advanced pilots, which is completely untrue. What I'm going to show you today is there are 4 or 5 spectacularly good reasons to make this or something like this your second airplane. And I'll explain why. All right. One of the reasons that we don't like little warbirds or like the T-28s and things like that people are using as their second aircraft is, think about it. Everyone you've ever seen come in for a landing, it's got to come in relatively fast, and to make that long tricycle landing takes a little skill. The control surfaces aren't quite as responsive either. So what happens is you watch the people flying it, and you'll see almost half of their landings are kind of bouncy or wrong, or they take out the gear. There's a lot of risk to it. Especially if you're not a really skilled pilot, if you're just coming from a trainer. But for sport flying or your second aircraft, you know, you buy the warbirds for their looks, but if you're learning to fly, you're trying to get better at flying, you need something that's got more control, something that is easier to control. It will not require so much airspeed to keep going. And the perfect example is this. To me, flying especially the little warbirds, I keep going back to those, or the scale planes, is controlling those is a bit like controlling a boat. Especially at first. Remember the first time you drove a boat. You know, you have to anticipate and turn, and it doesn't quite do exactly what you want it to do. It slips and slides around, and it's not like driving a car where you just say, okay, I want to turn left. Well, this is like driving a car. If you tell it to turn left, it'll immediately turn left. It won't require as much anticipation. I feel like I can fly any little warbird because it's like driving a boat for 10 years. You kind of get used to the fact that you have to anticipate a little bit, and it's not going to respond immediately to your command, but you can get good at it. But in this case, especially if you're just starting, you'll see this plane, if you take a look here, the flight controls are very large. Okay, so if I extend deflect the elevator like this, obviously the plane, even it's stalled, can stop on a dime and stand itself up. But for the most part, when you're flying around, if you watch closely, this is about as much as it moves. And even this will get you a 10-foot loop. So these planes, all we really need to do is use enough expo or a lower rate when you're starting to make sure that you're not over controlling it. That's it. That's the only thing that has to be changed just a little bit. These can easily be over controlled, so it's possible to program on your radio to make it impossible to over control it. But I'm going to show you while we're flying why this is so superior to having some sort of scale aircraft or anything like that for newbies and people just coming from high wing trainers, or somebody who just doesn't think they're ready for something like this. I think it's completely false. Take a look at the elevator here. This is my high rates, and that is the rate that we would be flying it on sport flying. Not very much. And that's all that's necessary, trust me. Okay, first really nice reason to use this as your second plane. See how nice and smooth it is? Very docile. Small movements on the controls. If you want bigger movements, you just add a little extra expo. But the plane itself, for any type of sport flying, it's so easy to fly. And what I like about it is if you do want to try something a little more aerobatic, instead of being unsure of the result, do you ever roll a high wing plane?
Time remaining 3 minutes.
It's kind of hard, but this plane here, if you want to roll it, you just push the controls and look how just nicely it rolls. You don't have to do anything but hit an aileron. Want to make a nice loop? Look how awesome the power is. And look at how pretty the loop is almost instantly with half throttle. And with the scale planes, it actually takes a little skill to even do a loop. The other thing that is, I think, really wonderful about the whole using this as your second plane is the fact that you can fly it really slow like this. At this point, your warbird would be falling out of the sky. But this, not even close. As you're practicing, trying to practice landing approaches, you can fly super, super slow. You know, you can turn where you'd like. Look how small a circle you can make with this because the plane is just flying really, really slow.
Time remaining 2 minutes.
Watch me again. And see how slow and you know, everything's happening in slow motion, so it really doesn't matter that much. I got a little wind jittering it around a little bit. But with a warbird, you know, you have to make wider landing approaches. You have to fly way out. You have to come in at a much higher speed, and things happen faster. Where this one here, like I said, if you watch it, you know, I'm with the wind right now, unfortunately, but you know, I could just slow it down to touchdown. Another really big advantage of this kind of plane is if you are getting slow and you need the plane to respond. With smaller flight controls,
Time remaining 1
okay,
minute.
right now I'm in like a landing type of speed. Look how slow I'm going, and it's still in the air. Any warbird you can think of would be falling out of the sky, literally falling. But you can land at these speeds. And then, of course, you know, when you realize that you have a lot of control, like if you're coming in for a landing, you want to turn, you want to do anything, this thing here responds instantly.
30 seconds.
Like if I want to, look how quickly I can turn and land the other way. Not that you'd ever want to do that, but I'm just trying to demonstrate the fact that these flight controls deliver instant results. That's just rudder.
10.
90% of all problems that happen on landing happen because of too much speed. Or maybe your approach is really a little sharp like this. If you're coming in really sharp, and in this case I'm even with the wind. With this one here, it's still easy to slow it right down, and look how nicely it'll land and how nicely it'll slow down.